Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going just fine.
Well, good. This is our Wednesday night case updates show.
Yeah.
And man, there's a lot. And I know we say that every week, but it always kind of feels that way lately that
Mm-hmm.
there is stuff happening in our cases all the time. Well, and I guess maybe it feels like there's a
So
lot because we
much.
have more and more and more and more cases. So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I did a deep dive today. I know you did too. So,
yeah.
but you know what? I went on one deep dive that I'm really disgusted about. And I want to mention it before I forget it.
Well, please do. What's that?
I got to thinking today about, well, a cannibalism case, and we did get some info on that. But then I got to thinking about the other heinous dead person situation that happened here in Idaho last fall, of course, the Downward Funeral Home incident.
Yes.
And so I went to the Idaho court's website to do a little scanning for Lance Peck, the owner, and
Mm,
anything I could find. And I am beyond disgusted that he has not been charged with a single thing
nope.
still. He's just not going to be.
No, he's just not. They
This is going to
just
be some good
went
old boy
silent.
bullshit. Yep, that just
It
gets
is.
swept under the rug.
After they did some horrendous things that really hurt people and are going to get away with it. And that it's wrong. It's totally wrong.
Surely, surely, there could be multiple abuse of a corpse charges there at the
Right?
very freaking least.
Well, and what about fraud, you know?
Yeah.
They
What
were
about
paid to do
fraud?
jobs they did not do.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
It just pisses me off. The rhetoric that he's a really nice guy. He's a Mormon religious guy. He was just in over his head. That just seems to be sticking. And I am just sick about it. That is wrong.
It is. It is very wrong. And it's true, Cranky, that he will probably face civil lawsuits.
I hope so.
Well, there were people who had prepaid for their funerals to them.
Yeah.
Not to mention families whose family members' ashes were missing and, all that stuff. Somebody will probably sue them. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I hope he's not allowed to own a funeral home again.
Right?
But, with no charges or anything,
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's just awful.
I know. I know. So that was the one dive I did today that turned up nothing except for just some ire.
It's frustrating
This
because
is
there was so
wrong.
much in the news for quite a few weeks
Hmm.
here, and then it just disappeared.
East Idaho News did one follow up a few months ago that basically kind of asked the same question, like, what's happening with this? Are we going to see charges? And basically, it was just all supposition. They didn't know
Right?
because
Yeah,
nothing has
same.
happened. And I don't think anything's going to happen.
I
I
don't
think this is
either.
a pity thing and a
Mhm.
good old boys bullshit kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I think so too, and
disgusted.
that's just not right. Right, right,
Mm-mm.
like Renee says, he'll just move to another state.
Hmm.
Mm,
Hmm. Yeah. It's
yikes.
not right for all of the families that had to go through this.
No, it isn't. It isn't, and there should be some comeuppance for this. When you do work like, being a mortician, you have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility, and a legal responsibility for those bodies. Come
Absolutely.
on, man.
Yep.
Ugh.
Agreed.
Well, that's an interesting start to the show.
Well, I know. I know. I just barely got done researching that because I started thinking about it and wondering what was going on.
Yeah, no kidding. His name does need to be shared wherever it could be
Hmm.
so that it's known what he's done.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, gosh, where to start? Katie, why don't you share with us? There's some things going on in the Crumbleys case. So why don't you share that with
Yeah.
us?
There's definitely some interesting stuff going on in the Crumbley's case. They were in court this week, and a couple of things happened that were very interesting. First of all, the prosecutor suggested to the judge that we do not refer to the shooter by name. We're not going to say his name in this court. We are not going to give him that kind of fame and notoriety. We're not.
Mhm.
We'll refer to him as the shooter only. We're not referring to him by name. And the judge said, Hells yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And
I like
so,
that a lot.
yep, that's the decision from the judge that they will no longer be referring to, you know, we'll say it one more time, Ethan Crumbley as
Yeah,
by name. He will just be known as the shooter from now on in their court. And I think that is awesome.
I do too. I'm really glad that they're finding some ways to take the notoriety out of it because we
Hmm.
know that kids that do these school shootings, they wanna be famous.
Hmm.
It's one of the reasons they do it. It's not the only one, but it's one of
Hmm.
them.
Yeah. And he's been getting off on it, you know, wants
Mhm.
to know how to access his fan mail and shit like that.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a
Oof,
real.
creepy little shit.
Hmm. Um, also, the prosecution has been concerned, and the judge has been concerned that there's a conflict of interest with the Crumbley's attorneys because their attorneys share a law office. They are partners, and they are each representing one of the Crumbleys,
Yeah.
which is a unique situation that doesn't normally happen. And the judge questioned this from the get go about
Yes.
whether or not this was really okay. And they're like, oh, no, no, judge, it's fine. There's no conflict of interest. No, 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 it's all good. We can be professional about this. This is fine. And the judge was like, well, yeah, you remember this. She had discussed this with the Crumbleys and said,
Yeah.
you don't have to. You can always change attorneys. Like, I don't know about this. Well, the
Mhm.
prosecution also said, we don't like this
Yeah.
because this raises the chances of a mistrial to a level that we are very uncomfortable with. And the
Right.
judge agreed and ordered that the Crumleys each have to have another attorney on board that is not either of the two of these women. So they can continue to be involved in their case, but they can't be the only attorneys on the case to try to
I
get some separation from that.
and I'm glad for that because, yeah, you
Mhm.
just don't know what's gonna be used later on
Yeah.
down the road as a reason
Mhm.
to, have an appeal or a mistrial or whatever because
Mhm.
now they're saying their rights were violated even though they chose this situation.
Well, I mean, this is a Chad and Lori situation.
Mhm.
If one or the other one decides to testify against the other, and their attorneys are both wrapped up in the midst of this, like this is messy. And
Mhm.
I'm glad that she did. Like I said, the judge has been concerned about this from the get go.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she finally looked at it and went, truly, this isn't okay. Because
Yeah.
it's not.
No, it isn't. Yeah, I'm glad for that too. It, we have to do everything possible to make sure that a case is as solid in people's rights as possible in every
Mhm.
situation.
Yep.
So, I do think that's a good thing.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
Well, so we've talked with you all about Sheriff Rowland. Sheriff Rowland is the sheriff of Bingham County, Idaho, which is just one county over from me,
Hmm.
and he's being charged in an incident where he assaulted a woman and threatened her with a gun while, she and a group of young women were out doing a youth group activity, and he kind of lost his shit. And so something interesting that's going on right now is that the, Idaho Attorney General's office has said that there is a conflict of interest in, the defense attorney that the, sheriff is using, and that
Hmm.
defense attorney is Justin Olesen,
Yep.
and so they don't think because he's a county prosecutor,
Hmm.
and they think, no."
Yep.
Yeah, they just don't think that that's the right thing to do, and so they're saying that he's gonna have to get a new attorney.
Yep. Which I did not realize that's who his attorney was,
I
but
didn't either,
what
it's the
the
first time
hell?
I've heard that name.
These guys just can't seem to do anything by the book, can they?
Well, of course not. They're not going to. They're gonna
I guess
do
not.
whatever, they want, basically. This is how it goes in the good old boys
Mhm.
club. And so, yeah, I think that's exactly the point,
Mhm. I do too.
is that they're just gonna, um, do whatever they want. But, now that the attorney general's office is involved, locally, somebody might not have had a problem with that, but the attorney general's office is not going to put up with any shit. Yeah.
No, they're most certainly not, and, he's already tried to claim that this entire thing is just a smear campaign by the Attorney General's office because they don't like him.
Yeah, well, maybe it's because he assaults
Yeah.
his own constituents,
It
asshole.
it's not because he pulled a gun and was threatening and terrifying to a car full of teenagers.
Right?
Yeah,
Give me a
that's not
break.
it. Yeah,
No. Oh, GB, I'm sorry. We did mention this in a couple of places, but we haven't mentioned it here.
it's
The
true.
judge has denied the severance of the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow Daybell uh, murder trial. So their cases will not be severed. They will be tried together.
Yep. Well, and on that note, there was a new ruling yesterday
Yes.
that has slipped into the, annals, into the, I court, records, that there was an order yesterday that was immediately sealed. So,
Yeah.
again, we don't have a clue what it
But it was
is,
in
but
Lori's case.
it was in Lori's case.
So we are still expecting that she's probably going to be showing back up in jail.
Mhm.
And they're,
Mhm.
of course, not talking, and we don't believe they will, that nothing will be stated publicly until she has been returned to the jail.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so no severance, there. The judge just didn't feel like Pryor's, um, evidence was enough.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that. He really didn't prove, his case.
Yeah.
And we also really feel like the judge knows that Lori's about to come back into the fray, and so
Mhm.
to him, this is a non-issue.
Yeah.
Definitely treated it like a non-issue, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, again, it just really seems like she is looking pretty spiffed up and ready to come back to court.
It is looking that way, so
It really looks to me like that's what her attorney wants.
yes, I think so. I feel like he wants to get the show on the road here.
Well, it shouldn't be a big surprise to any of us to think that just maybe Mark Means caused a bunch of bullshit that really maybe didn't need to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't she was still assessed by
Yeah.
multiple people, so I still think that there were some issues there, but are they
Yeah.
as severe as Means was putting out there?
Yeah. Never.
No, and can they be resolved? Yes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So also in the Daybell Vallow situation, we had court this morning.
Mhm.
Oh, court this morning. Yikes. So,
Yet another trip to the belligerent turd circus.
yes. So Pryor has filed several different versions of please dismiss this case altogether against my client, which we all know is ridiculous.
Mhm. For
But
a
what they
litany of reasons.
yes, many
Hoping something
reasons.
sticks. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they argued today was that the grand jury that indicted Chad and Lori was not seated impartially,
Mhm.
which was pretty interesting because uh Pryor doesn't know anything. There's a lot of stuff he doesn't know. Right now, until today, he didn't even know who the grand jurors were.
Yeah.
Only knew them by number, not by name.
Mhm.
And seems to want to try to get the judge to see that grand jury as a trial jury, and they're very
Mhm.
different with
Mhm.
very different jobs.
Yeah.
And, the grand jury's job is, it's an investigative tool, basically.
Mhm.
They're trying to determine, is there enough evidence to go to trial here? So, they don't have the same rules of impartiality that, um, trial, um, juries do. It's different. The
No,
rules are
and they're
different.
vetted differently.
Yeah, they're vetted differently. They're vetted not as not even necessarily by one individual case. They may just
Right.
be, receive jury duty for a grand jury,
Mhm.
and they don't even know what they're going to be, necessarily talking about or,
Right.
presented to them. So that was argued today with Pryor and Lindsay Blake from Fremont County. Lindsay, who
Mhm.
struggled a lot.
Mhm.
But part of the reason for that is that they can't release any information about that grand jury in open court. And so she was censoring everything she was going to say. They also the prosecution has asked for more time to respond in a written
Mhm. To
form.
file their brief. Yeah.
So they have 2 more weeks to do that. Then after that, Pryor has 2 more weeks before he responds to that. So
Mhm.
it
He's
really
gotta have
didn't.
his crack at the apple, don't you
Yeah,
know?
gotta have his crack at the apple.
Mhm.
And, um, and then we'll see, but we are at least a month out from knowing where that's gonna go. I mean, not
Mhm.
that we don't really already know, because it's
Mhm.
not gonna go anywhere.
He's such an ass. And Paula, I really like this comment. I noticed that you commented something similar on the video. She
Yeah.
said Pryor argued that there has been too much publicity about the grand jury, and this could have been handled in a preliminary hearing, Your Honor. Like there would have been less publicity for that. Yeah.
No, that would have been public.
Hmm. He has tried so hard to have it both ways with publicity and the public.
He sure
He
has.
just wants to be persnickety and bitchy. He just
Mhm.
wants to be. It doesn't matter what it is, he's not gonna like it. But
Well,
it's
and he's pissed
crazy.
that this happened behind his back,
Yeah,
because defense
I
attorneys
didn't
do not get
decide.
notified about these
Yeah,
things.
he literally said, "I didn't choose to have a grand jury, Your Honor." Of course you
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah,
That's
we all
not
know,
your
dum-dum.
job. If you wanna choose to have a grand jury prior, you have need to get a different job.
Yeah. Oh, Cranky, you looked it up? A crack at the apple? Yeah, someone looked it up for us this morning as well, and, well, it's hilarious.
Not
Go
really a
look it
legal term.
go
No.
look it up in, Urban Dictionary, and you'll see what we're talking about. Um, right, Amy, he's always fishing for more information, and always implying that they have something he doesn't know about and
Mhm.
all this stuff. So,
Well,
that's
and that
gonna
was
be a
part of
while
his
before we get much more out of
yeah.
it.
Well, that was part of his bitch today because he's trying to get all 3 prosecutors dismissed for prosecutorial misconduct, which is a rare thing to have happen. And yet, between Means and Pryor, they have tried over and over and over to no avail. But he
Yeah,
says that they didn't give him everything from the grand jury, that they've withheld some of it, and that that's illegal, and that they blah, 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 and they should all just be dismissed and, thrown into the river or whatever. I mean, he's so dramatic. But here's what's true. They didn't have the authority to give him the thing he was asking for.
right,
He wants the names of the grand jurors, and they don't have the authorization to do that. And that's
right,
why they didn't give it to him. And again, Lindsay Blake said, "We would be more than happy for to give you that if you asked for it. If you filed in the court and asked for it so the judge can order us to give it to you, we will, but we can't just give it to you because that's the law."
right.
And yet he, he's constantly trying to outsmart and gaslight the judge, and that's
Mhm.
just never gonna work. Voice is
No.
way, way sharper of a dude than this guy is.
He is, and
Why
it's
does he
it's
want the
just
names? Because he wants to try to prove that they knew Chad or were related to the or
to the case in some way.
to the case in some way. Sorry, to the testifiers. What are they called?
The
The
witnesses.
witnesses. God.
Yeah.
To the witnesses in some way. I mean, he literally in his brief claims, apparently, we haven't seen the brief because it was sealed, but from what we can gather from what he said today and from what the defense or the prosecution said today, he's claiming that the grand jury was seated improperly because there were people on the grand jury that know of this case or know of Chad or know of some of the people that were testifying. Well, yeah, they probably did.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make this illegal. It doesn't
No.
make it a reason to just throw Chad's charges out the window at
Right.
all.
He doesn't he wants to equate this with the same level of vetting that a trial, jury has to have, and it isn't the same. That is not true, because that all that the grand jury can do is indict, they can't convict.
Right.
And so the main remedy for if there was conflict of interest with anybody is the trial jury. It's that's what the law says.
Mhm.
So, again, this is probably not gonna go anywhere. It was kinda brutal. It went on for way too long, and
Mhm.
it was hard. You can tell that the prosecution was not very prepared.
Mhm.
They need to get their shit together here. But I also think that
Mhm.
Pryor just constantly keeps them overwhelmed
Yeah.
with more and more and more
Stupid shit
filings.
like this. Well, he said last week, if you deny this, then I'm gonna file this, I'm gonna push this. Like, he basically threatened the judge with, "I'm gonna waste as much of your time as I possibly can if you don't give me something I want."
Right, because if they deny this dismissal for this reason, he has all these other reasons for
Yeah.
dismissal. And so we're gonna see can a lot of this. Can the grand jury be named? No, it's illegal. You can't name. He can get the names if he asks for them, but
Mhm.
publicly, no, they can't.
Mm-mm.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it was definitely a battle today.
Mhm.
But there's just no Pryor just wants to rewrite the law to
Mhm.
match what he thinks it should say.
Mhm.
And it just that has not been successful for him at all so far with this judge. This judge has shot him down over and over again on those kinds of things
Yeah.
and will continue to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's annoying and frustrating and sometimes, pretty, shocking, honestly, the stuff that he says and does. The way he says things to the judge as if they are just matter of fact
Yes, he
that are
does.
not, and you know damn well he knows. He knows
Yeah,
what he's doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just wasting time. Um, yeah, right. And even if the jury was found to not be impartial, yeah, Chad, it
Yeah.
means they'd have a preliminary hearing and still indict him. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
mean that the charges would be dropped. They would just bring them in a different way.
Mhm.
But no, the judge can't kick him for the case for those kinds of things. That's just the kind of stuff defense attorneys do,
Mhm.
hoping they're going to get a judge to agree with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to just keep watching, of course, this and keep watching to see if we see some indication that Lori is back at the jail because we're really wondering.
Really wondering. Yep.
Yeah, the judge is very patient with Pryor. He was also very patient with Lindsay Blake today because
He
she
was.
was struggling.
Mhm.
But she has been a prosecutor for about a year. So
Yeah.
this is all new to her too. Yeah.
It was kind of interesting when before they went into the breakout, when they first started, Archibald and Wood were both there.
Mhm.
And then when they came out from the breakout, they were both gone, and it was just Lindsay.
Yeah. So they must have made a decision that she would be
Mhm.
the one.
Well, and of course, resting Toadface himself, looking
Yes.
particularly creepy in the jail
Creepy.
lighting. Holy.
Yeah, I was in this weird dim lighting and yeah,
Mhm.
straight as a stick and barely moving
Mhm.
again. It was really weird.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yeah.
Yes, at Paula every time. Prior asking to be excused from the hearing. Every time the hearing starts to wrap up, here, judge goes, "Judge, may we be excused? But you gotta go
Yeah.
potty?" I mean, what what is this?
Yeah.
I've never once heard a prosecutor ask that.
No. No, but they have to keep the attention on them.
Mhm.
So we'll keep watching, there's always more to come in that case.
Mhm.
Let's talk about let's talk about Josh Duggar. I mean, do we have to talk about Josh Duggar?
Christ's sake. So,
So
Josh Duggar, oh, go ahead. That's yours, not
oh,
mine.
so Josh Duggar's defense team has asked for a 30-day continuance before he is sentenced. So sentencing is coming up in April, and they need more time before they're it's weird. Like, this dude's already been convicted. Like, what do you need more time for exactly?
They act like they're headed to pretrial, not sentencing.
Yeah, well, and they're like, "It's been hard to schedule meetings with him because of COVID-19." Yeah, you and everybody else.
Mhm.
Um, so he's supposed to be sentenced on April 5th at this point. We don't know yet he will be if they will grant that or not, but it just
Yeah,
seems ridiculous.
completely.
They've already had one extension on filing briefs, and now they want more, and it's like, "For what? He's
Right.
convicted." Like, "Come on, let's move on."
Right. And the
It's
pretrial,
it's not 3 days, it's 30 days, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, what's it really gonna do? Yeah, and he
right.
is
The
like,
judge
what?
has
It's
already
keeping him out of
received the
prison a little
pretrial.
longer?
Right. The judge has already received the pretrial recommendations. Like, he's ready to roll.
Yeah,
This is stupid.
yeah,
What could they possibly need more time to do?
yeah. For
Yeah.
someone, what are they gonna bring a character witness in? I mean,
Right?
if you're gonna come in and speak on behalf of Josh Duggar positively, then someone should be investigating you.
Honestly, I'm guessing that, and maybe this is not nice, maybe I'm wrong, but they have had their hand in the pocket of Daddy Duggar this whole time. And he
Mhm,
just keeps shelling out for them to just keep trying more shenanigans and bullshit.
right.
And maybe, they're just trying to, get, I hate to say this, but one more crack at the apple, you know?
God. Maybe, I don't know. It seems ridiculous, but we'll be
Mhm.
keeping an eye on that.
Yeah.
Uh, Katie, do you wanna talk about Summer Wells' family?
Yeah, there was an interesting report that came out from law enforcement a few weeks ago, and we missed it, so I wanted to go ahead and grab it today about Summer Wells that her family has quit cooperating with law enforcement. Now, then grandma and mom, did some kind of redneck display on another news site saying that is absolutely not true. But law enforcement said, yeah, it is. They are not cooperating with us. They are not talking to us. They're actually researching some of the spots that they searched initially.
Mm,
They're not done looking for Summer. Right? The search goes on. It's just it's hard to, it's been 9 months and there's still so very little to go on.
right.
But, I do think that's interesting, though, that this is, what the, law enforcement agencies are saying right now, that they are not cooperating. They have also gotten attorneys and lawyered up. So,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I hate this case a lot, and I'm so sad
Yeah.
about Summer, but why
Yeah.
did they go lawyer up? I mean, it's been so long, and all of a sudden, now they have attorneys, now they're not talking? Why?
Yeah. Why? I know, it's very strange. I can't imagine if your child was missing that you would stop cooperating with the police.
Mhm. It's
Like,
true. They truly stopped cooperating a long time ago. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and something that the dad said, let me see if I can find it again, kind of grabbed me. He said something along the lines that his wife told him this rendition of what happened, and he didn't think Candace would lie to him. Thought that was just really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are super shady, Karen. They sure are.
They are. They're just
Mhm.
they're a nightmare, frankly.
Mhm. Mhm. It's super
So,
gross.
I guess we will continue to watch and see what goes on there.
Yeah.
Brenda Lee Rawls, we covered her a few months
Yeah.
ago. She was one of the deaths, that happened in, uh, where is this? Damn, I can't remember. Anyway, there were a couple of different deaths in the same area recently where the police didn't even notify family members that a person had been found dead.
Right.
And Brenda Lee Rawls was one of them. This was in December, and she was found dead at a friend's house, and they couldn't find her body. Like, no one told them that she
Yep.
died or where to get her body or anything. So
Yeah.
now the medical examiner has finally come out with a cause of death, and the cause of death is cardiovascular disease
Mhm.
contributing from diabetes.
Yep.
And the family is like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. We don't believe
Mhm.
that. We want a second autopsy. We don't trust anything that is coming from the police because of the way that they were treated after the fact."
Mhm.
And I
This
don't blame them in the least.
this happened in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Bridgeport, Connecticut. Okay, I
And
knew it was
this, of
Bridgeport
course,
for
the
some reason.
other death that is associated, not to this death, but happened the same day, is Lauren Smith Fields,
Yeah,
whose case
yeah,
also is kind of slowly
yeah.
slowly trudging on. Yeah.
Same thing. Like, the
Mhm.
police didn't notify family.
Mhm.
Like, her body was found. She died in a friend's house, and They took her body away and didn't call her family and didn't tell,
Yeah.
nothing. Was ridiculous. So now her
Mhm.
family is seeking a second autopsy because they just do
Mm.
not trust that anything that they're being
Mhm.
told is true, which
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you can blame them for that.
No. Also, both families have teamed up and are trying really pushing hard for some legislation around laws regarding, that it's not just a nicety, it's a law
Yeah,
regarding, notifying families of a death,
yeah. I thought it was a law. I mean,
right?
what the hell?
Maybe they need a more enforceable law. Me too. These are things that blow my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous. Let's see. So also Harvey Marcelin, who we covered a couple of days ago, 83-year-old serial killer who has just
Mhm.
been arrested for murdering Susan Layden. And
Mhm.
they now say that Susan did die from blunt force trauma. So that is, um, they're making some progress on figuring out what the hell
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. They also said that they found on the table in Harvey's apartment some tarot cards, and they're investigating whether or not that had something to do with Susan's death.
Yeah.
So, okay.
What the hell does that even mean?
And spoiler alert, there's a lot of tarot cards on my desk.
Yeah,
What the
and
hell?
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just a
But,
stupid thing to say.
there were some saws and shit and some tarot cards on the table.
Yeah, yeah, saws
hmm
used to cut up Susan's body,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So that's gonna continue to roll out.
Yeah.
Katie, do you wanna talk about the update with Mason Dominguez and Brandon Tosland from
Oh,
Las Vegas?
you guys, I don't know about this case. Okay. This is the case where the mom slipped the notes into, we were initially told bag, and then they said it was sock of her little girl, the post-it notes that she took to school in Las Vegas. And then the police came back, and found them and discovered that supposedly her story is that the boyfriend Brandon had gotten really, really weird and controlling, and that sometime in December, little Mason, who was 4, got sick, and he took him into their bedroom and wouldn't allow her in there. That all of the house was barricaded with cameras and locked doors, and
Mm,
they were kept separate, mom and the 2 kids, from each other when they were at home, and that he took the little boy into his bedroom when he was ill, and then she's never seen him again.
yeah,
That was in December. So then, around the first part of March, she sends these notes to school with her daughter, claiming that she's being held captive and she thinks something may have happened to her little boy, and yada yada. Right. So you guys, you probably know that case. If you don't, you can go find it. Brandon, we reported on it. Brandon Toslin is the accused, the boyfriend. Well, it's a challenging situation because Brandon's ex-girlfriend is the sister of Daisha, the mom of
yeah,
her deceased husband.
right.
And the family says there was an affair going on and yada yada because her husband only died a year ago, and 2 months later she and the kids moved into Brandon's house. So
Right.
anyway, there's a lot of drama there that we don't really have to go clear into, but that's kind of the background of it, right?
Yeah.
So now there has been an interview with the ex-girlfriend, who's also the aunt, you know, of the little boy who was murdered.
Mhm.
You guys, her children have been going over to that house for visitation all the while.
Yeah.
They've been going there, where Mason's been in the freezer since December.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
also, they've been going there while she was apparently being held against her will. I just it doesn't sit right.
I know. I don't like this. I'm very bothered by it and confused by it. A lot of people that know this family have felt like whatever was being said, here about Daisha, being a victim and whatnot, that they didn't believe it was true. And I will always take the victim's side, always. And so that's the lens I have tried to look at this case through. But I think this is very troubling,
It
very
is.
troubling. How were those kids going over there and not noticing that someone was missing?
Yeah.
She was
Why?
completely shocked when this arrest happened. She said that she sees Daisha quite a bit, that they exchange the kids constantly with no incident whatsoever. Everybody's friendly, smiling, acting completely normal. She said she did not have any inkling whatsoever that there was anything wrong.
That is just that's not cool. Something else is going on there. That's
Mhm.
very creepy.
I think it's very creepy too, and concerning. The whole thing I think is just really concerning. So I'm not saying anything is or isn't. I just am saying I think that adds another layer to this that is very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is very strange. So, we're gonna keep an eye on that because things
Mhm.
just they're not adding up
Yeah.
the way that we would like them to, you know?
No, it's just concerning. It's weird. It's
Mhm.
weird. But also, if I'm her, I would be flat freaking terrified right now thinking that my little children had been
Yeah.
going to that house where there was a dead child in the freezer
Yeah.
that had been murdered by
Yeah,
their
and
dad.
it's so scary. So, we'll
Yep.
keep an eye on that, but that definitely brings the whole thing into a different light, I think.
I think so too. So we'll keep an eye out.
Well, and speaking of things that do not add up, how about Nick Alaverdian, Nick Rossi, Arthur Brown, whoever the hell that guy is?
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. You guys, we've talked about Nick Alaverdian. We did a story on him a few weeks or a couple months ago. He's the guy who faked his death and moved to Ireland, Scotland, Ireland,
Scotland.
Scotland. And he's wanted for some rapes, he's wanted for embezzlement, he's wanted for all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he went into a hospital in Scotland with COVID-19 and his tattoos were recognized by staff and he was turned in that he is Nick Alaverdian or Nick Rossi and
Mhm.
well he's now saying that his name is actually Arthur Brown and he is not that guy at all. That isn't even him. And he doesn't know what anyone's talking about. He doesn't have a single tattoo. None of this is true.
Mhm.
And his adoptive father says, "Yeah, that's my son."
That that's this asshole. Yeah. His
Yeah,
dad's like, "No, I would think I'd know my kid if I see him."
yeah.
But
So
he
now
is
they're
just
gonna have to do
determined.
DNA to prove who he is
Mhm.
because he's awaiting extradition to the US,
Mhm.
and now he's like, "Well, I'm not even that guy."
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep. He has a marriage certificate that shows that he got married in Scotland 2 years ago,
yeah.
and it just couldn't possibly be him. He says he has never been to the US ever. He also claims he doesn't have any
Mhm.
tattoos,
Yeah, well,
but
that's pretty easy to prove, and
there
so's
was
DNA.
some evidence that he might have been, like, trying to get his tattoos removed as fast as he could, but, that is not fast, and you'd still have scars.
Yeah, you'd still have some stuff.
Yeah,
So, that guy, what the hell?
yeah. So I posted an article in case you guys are interested because I think this is hilarious and crazy.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
what if
really
the
bizarre.
DNA comes back that it really isn't him?
But why now? I mean, this
Mhm,
all came out months ago, and
mhm.
now suddenly he's saying he's not that guy?
No, it's
Where was he?
because
Why
in
wasn't he
order
saying
to
that?
extradite, the only thing you can really do to fight an extradition is to prove that you aren't the person that they need.
Right, that's
So
true.
that's what he's trying to do, and he's managed to wiggle himself out of other issues, so this is just an attempt to wiggle out of this one.
Right, right. It is, and he's just gonna try he's such a con artist, he's gonna
Yeah.
try anything.
I
But
still think it's Nick.
I do too. I absolutely think it's him.
I have no doubt, but
Oh my goodness. What
speaking of belligerent turd circus,
Right.
mhm, that
Well,
one
and
keeps
let's
marching on.
yeah, it sure does. Speaking of, let's talk about James David Russell.
Oh,
So
yeah.
James David Russell is he's the cannibal from Northern Idaho. We covered this
Mhm.
case not long ago as well.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting because he's been found incompetent to stand trial
Mhm.
and has been in a mental health program to make that better and, to help him get to a point where he can be tried.
Mhm.
And he like, they're being all public about everything that's going on with him. It's a huge 180 from what's going on with Lori Vallow Daybell.
Yeah.
It's really strange. This doesn't seem to be sealed,
It isn't.
and things are
Yeah.
being talked about publicly. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's only because his attorney has not asked for it to be sealed.
And maybe it's because I don't know. Here's the quote from the article that we found so interesting. Uh, in Russell's case, Dr. Walter Campbell, chief psychologist at the Idaho Department of Corrections, attended the hearing virtually in addition to state prosecutors and defenders. First District Magistrate Judge Tara Hardin asked Campbell directly about Russell's progress in the program. We're still in the process, Campbell said. We are optimistic we can conclude within the time frame of the order.
Yeah. It's weird, but he is the chief psychologist for the Idaho Department of Corrections,
Yeah,
not the Idaho Department of Health and
health and
Welfare.
welfare. Yeah,
So, maybe this is why he's in some program that's run by corrections, not health and welfare. This is all
right,
the same state, guys. This is all
right.
Idaho. That's where we are very confused.
The article said while committed to the program, individuals work with a variety of medical professionals. The purpose of the program is to ensure an individual is mentally competent enough to understand and participate in court proceedings.
Yeah. It
What?
does not, because you know
Yeah,
what? He's not committed, and I guess here that's the difference. He's in the Department of Corrections, not the Department of Health and Welfare. So he's not in the hospital.
yeah.
He's in a program that's happening through corrections. It's very
hmm
confusing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it is very confusing. So,
yeah.
I don't know. We're not sure what all that means, but we're keeping an eye on
hmm
that case.
Yeah,
Just
very
interesting.
interesting that Lori was hospitalized and he wasn't. But we
Mhm, and
also know other people, criminals that were hospitalized. Like
we
it's
do.
this is weird. Yeah, I wish I understood better.
Here's the deal, though. He's in Northern Idaho, and we're in
True.
Southern Idaho. And Northern Idaho and Southern Idaho might as well be different states.
hmm
They are so inherently different.
Well, and there's a vast wilderness that separates us
Yeah, you can't even
that we
drive
can't
from
even
Southern
drive
Idaho
through.
to Northern Idaho without going out into another state and around.
hmm
And, things are just being handled different up there. It's just very
I bet.
strange to me.
But to hear a psychologist in court discussing the patient's case publicly, where
Yeah,
they have sealed absolutely any hint of Lori's mental health stuff down here is odd to me.
it
Yeah.
is. It's really strange. So it's something we're gonna keep an eye on. We're trying to understand why they're in such different
Mhm.
situations, considering they're both found incompetent to stand trial. I mean, the state does that
Yeah.
differently for different people. That doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. I don't know,
Yeah.
or if he just doesn't his attorney has not pushed for confidentiality and has not pushed for hospitalization, and that could be.
Yeah,
I think
maybe,
that could be.
maybe.
So, I don't know.
It's
In other
bonkers.
Yeah, totally. In other weird news, Harmony Montgomery's father's girlfriend has been found dead.
Yeah.
Her
That
name
girl
is
he was with
Kelsey
when they
Small.
picked him up, when he was arrested, that he was living in his car with,
Yeah,
she died.
yeah. Very strange. Just
Mhm.
we don't know that it's connected necessarily, but it's odd.
Mhm. She died in a hotel room, and I read through the comments on the initial article that, like, right from their community, and, ooh, there were some people defending her hard and didn't want anyone to, connect her to him or to this case. She had nothing to do with it. She never even met Harmony. She was long gone before she ever even met him, and which is probably true. They did not
Excuse
say
me.
of what. Lots of people in the comments supposed that it was an OD, but the
Mhm.
people that were defending her and her family absolutely emphatically denied that it was absolutely not an OD, that she did not do drugs or alcohol. That whole crew of people are addicts. So I don't know. I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, but that was a little iffy to me. But no,
Yeah.
they have not said what.
Yeah, they've not said what she died of, but it's just odd.
Mhm.
Everything around that case is odd, and this is one more thing that
Mhm.
is odd.
Yeah.
So I have, one other thing. Katie, do you have anything else?
Just the Wests.
Oh, the Wests, yes, duh, sorry, go for it.
So we're all familiar by now with Trezell and Jacqueline West.
Ugh,
They are the adopted parents of Orson and, good Lord, Oral and Orson West. Sorry, having a
Oren,
momentary Oren, yeah,
Oren and Orson.
Oren and Orson West. And they, of course, have been charged now in their murders. The brief that accompanied the arrest warrant had a few things in it that are really disturbing. And one of them was that at one point they had employed the help of the older children in abusing these children.
Yeah. Mm,
It's a horrible situation. They have two boys that are their bio kids. Then they adopted two boys, and then they adopted two more boys. And
yeah,
that's the youngest boys, the ones that had gone missing last fall or last year. And now they've determined that they actually murdered them 3 months before they ever reported them missing.
yeah,
And so, anyway, these fools have now both been arrested and charged, and they're both sitting in jail. And they have requested visitation with their other children.
who are all in the system right now. They've been placed
Mhm,
in foster care
mhm.
while they get this figured out.
And these assholes want to see those kids. They want to
Yeah,
have visitation with them. So not only did the judge say, "You gotta be freaking kidding me,"
mhm,
he said, "Actually, I think that a protective order is called for here. You are
yes.
to have no contact with those kids." Here's the thing. I think it's very likely that some of those kids will end up as witnesses.
Well, yeah, they will.
Maybe not. They can't be compelled to testify against their parents. Well, depending on the state and the state law. There's a
Mhm,
federal law around it. There's a state law around it. We have just discussed this
yeah,
regarding another case. But at any rate, it could easily be that these kids, once they got them away from these assholes and started talking to them, that they've learned a whole lot about what happened to those boys. Anyway, so of course the judge said, "You're charged with murdering two of your kids. You want to hang out with the other kids? Not happening."
no,
Yeah. How
no.
gross and ridiculous is that?
Very gross and very ridiculous. What the hell?
So thank goodness the judge,
Yeah.
said no. Of course. I can't imagine any judge saying yes to that at
They
all.
wouldn't, they wouldn't. Well, and you can imagine that these 2 are scared to death about what the kids are gonna say, or maybe have already said, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is probably there's probably questions, that they wanna find out what the kids know, what the kids have said, what the kids have told
Mhm.
people, This isn't because they wanna see their kids. They wanna
No.
know what the kids are gonna say
Mhm. For sure.
or have said, This is a fishing expedition.
Oh, completely. Honestly, it's an attempt to intimidate witnesses,
Mhm.
truly.
This
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, super gross. Super
Mhm.
gross.
Yeah.
So, the last thing I have is an article that's coming out of London that I find very interesting. Um, there's been a new um, leader of the Metropolitan Police in um, London for the last 5 years. Her name is Cressida Dick, and I'm gonna just go out on a limb here and say she's a dick. the
Okay.
So what they're saying, what they're finding is that the rate of homicides that are solved for Black or Asian people in London has gotten real bad.
Mhm.
And they're saying that there's some real racism going on in this police force because when she took over, um, hang on, the unsolved cases when she took over were only 8% of the murders of Black and Asian people were unsolved. Now 21% are unsolved.
Mhm.
And so they're seeing a real bias in their police department coming right from the top.
Mhm.
So things are not
Wow.
going well over there. And that,
Mhm.
I think one of the reasons it's important to talk about it is that leadership in law enforcement really, really matters
Yep.
about, the attitude of the chief trickles down to everybody else.
Yep.
And I mean, that's a pretty significant change.
Yeah.
I still have to say that their murder solve rate is way better than it is in the US. Way
Yeah.
better. But yeah, it's not a good thing. And she's being accused of racism and of, making murders of Black and Asian people less of a priority. And
Mhm.
it's ugly.
Wow.
So, but it's a good conversation to be having because we need to be having it here in the US as well
Mhm.
and figuring out, how do we change the culture
Yeah.
in law enforcement or how we change the whole damn system. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely it's not good.
Yeah. No, that's way not good.
No. I just found that to be interesting as well. That
Mhm. Really
something
interesting.
to something to consider.
Wow. Well, I mean, hopefully, with studies like that being published about her, maybe the powers that be may consider that she needs to take a seat, take
Yeah,
several
I
seats.
I think
Yeah.
that's what they're trying to say is that
Mhm.
she needs to move on and they need to be looking at those kinds of attitudes and the culture within their police force,
Yep.
you know. It's just it's beyond anything I can fathom
Mhm.
that a person's race would, and I know it's true, we talk about it all the time, but I don't understand it personally,
Mhm.
um, how a person's race can determine whether their murder is important enough to be solved or not.
Mhm.
I do not understand it. A human
Mhm.
being is a human being. You don't,
Yeah.
people's lives have the same value, but
Yeah.
obviously that's racism in a nutshell, but it
Mhm.
just is so sick to me to think that they would intentionally not care.
Yeah. Good point,
It's
Lynn.
depraved.
She said, "When a prince leaves the country for his wife, I believe it." No kidding.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, very interesting. So, that's everything we have for you tonight, which was a lot
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah. It
So,
was an armload.
yeah,
Yeah.
we will be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Mountain for the
Mhm.
Psychic Hour.
Yes, and we are
And
going to be doing those cards everybody loves.
we're gonna be doing the spiritual AF cards. That's gonna be fun.
That's always
And
fun and a
it
kick in the dick, both.
it is
So,
fun. Yes, yes, it is both, definitely.
yeah.
I enjoy it quite a lot. Um, and, if you haven't seen our episodes for this week, go check them out. We covered
Yeah.
some really interesting cases, some funny stuff, some really difficult stuff this week. It's
Mhm.
been quite a week for true crime. So,
Oh my gosh. Our case that
we will
broke this morning, or well, last night, our Wednesday cases.
yeah.
It
Whoa.
was like 3 straight the whole episode, 3 straight segments of holy shit. Yeah,
Yeah, but also
people
kind
have
of
gone
funny.
crazy.
Just to know that if somebody approaches you and says, "Would you like to train with me to be a DEA agent?" Just run. Just
Yeah,
run.
yeah,
Do not get involved with that. If
yeah,
you
for
didn't
sure say
fill out
no.
the application, you don't work there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Spirit, yes, we will be doing the spiritual AF cards tomorrow night, so please
yep.
join me. Yeah.
It's just time for them, for sure.
It is definitely time. All right, you
Okay.
guys. Well, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, as always. And if you're joining after the fact, thank you for being here as well. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all the things to help us just continue to grow. And you know it, we are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here.
Take care.